All right. So very warm welcome to the event, Anurag. Thank you so much for making your time out here. I'm pretty sure, given your busy schedule, it's quite difficult to take your time here. Thank you so much for joining us. Now, before we move forward with the event, can you introduce yourself to the audience, Anurag?
Sure. Hi, I'm Anurag Saigirthari. I'm from Pune. I did my bachelor's in from Pune University in mechanical engineering, and right now I'm pursuing my master's in nuclear engineering at University of Tennessee, Knoxville. That's it.
University of Tennessee, Knoxville. All right. Can you take us through your specialization at this point of time? Which masters have you chosen?
Sure. My specialization basically nuclear fusion, that is plasma physics. Usually, people in nuclear they work with fission, that's splitting into atoms. But I'm working more into a research-oriented field, which is nuclear fusion, which plans to we plan to go for abundant energy, the energy that's produced in the sun. We're trying to reproduce that on Earth, and we're practically seeing that in the future of 2035. So let's see.
Fingers crossed indeed. That's quite a very interesting experiment to be a part of. Now, with respect to the current context of what we're about to discuss, can you take us through your profile? What is your GRE score versus breakdown? Can you take us through that?
Sure. So my GRE score is basically 316. I got a 164 in quant and around 152. Oh yeah, 152 in verbal. My grad score is around 75% from Pune University, so that adds up to around. It turns out to around 9. And in terms of review papers, I have one review paper that I did in India. There's one research paper that's still pending in India. I have 2 research papers that I've done in my last semester, and I'm working on 3 right now. So that's my profile for now. That's it.
And can you also add to the current undergrad college you came from?
Sure. I'm from University of Pune. Like most people know, I mean, it has got a pretty good reputation all around India. Just people who are there inside know it's not. Basically, I did in mechanics. I wanted to do it in nuclear. I mean, when I was studying around in 12th standard, I wanted to do it in nuclear, but then they were just. I think Kharagpur and Kanpur offers nuclear. I think they removed it. So I had to shift to something that was closer to nuclear. So I started off with mechanical, but then yeah, here I am.
Okay. Now, before I move forward to the next part of the slides, I just want to ask one important question. Now, there's always been this heavy bias or at least an assumption that a student coming only from an IIT background gets to be a part of these top 10, top 20 universities. Now, what's your take on it? Do you believe that undergrad college, the college you come from, does it play a very important role in the application process?
It does, believe me, it does, because if you're from a really reputed college, that makes a case for itself. But that's not the only thing that matters. I mean, when the graduate school gets your profile, the first thing that the CV process takes 2 things: your GRE score and your grad score. So that's what's the first thing that's seen. When it goes to the department, that is when it matters. I mean, if like my PI, my professor who I'm working with, he's used to working with Indians who are from IIT Bombay. So the first question he asked me was, I told him I'm from Pune. That's closer to Bombay. The first question he asked me was, are you from IIT Bombay? I said, no, sir, I'm not. So, I mean, that's a notion that they have, but that's not necessarily, because later when I was speaking to him, he said that when I look at SOPs or when I look at profiles, I look at how much work they've done in their research fields, how much effort they've put in inside their projects, what have they done, how they contributed. So that tells you a lot about what kind of mentality that person has, and what he can offer to my projects or my field. So that's how people look at it. Like on the outset, yes, IITs and the NITs, I mean, they make a huge difference. But once they start looking at your profile, if their profile is really good, even though you don't have a name, even though your college does not have a huge name, it does make a good case for you.
All right, all right. I think that pretty much summarizes that important part of discussion. Now, moving forward to the next part, which is, of course, you are joining us live from USA, and Tennessee is quite a place to be in. Now, the traditional way to look at it is New York, California, more popular cities that people know about. But Tennessee also, I want to understand what life is like at there, especially going for a master's course. What is your routine like? What do you do?
Life in Tennessee is slow. New York is fast. California is fast. New York, California, like more like Bombay. I mean, like you've got to be on your toes. You've got to keep, you've got to keep running. You've got to catch trains, things like that. When you come to Tennessee, Tennessee is more like it's a very slow paced life. I mean, you hardly find people around. It's like for everything. I mean, and one of the biggest conveniences you need is a car. You do not have an automobile, it becomes really, really tough. So, and if at all you want to ask what is worse, I mean, why Tennessee? Because I mean, there's a lot of open area. So, it's easier to build reactors. It's easier to work on a bigger amount of field and bigger amount of area. So that's why I think Tennessee is best suited. But otherwise, in terms of life, so I wouldn't say. I mean, I'm a very fast-paced person, so I don't like it much. But people who really like a nice, quiet life, Tennessee is one of the best places they could visit. So yeah, I mean, you can see on the left that's PPPL, Princeton Plasma Physics Laboratory. That's one of the places one of my projects is coming from. That's in New Jersey. And the second image is Oak Ridge National Laboratory. That's the laboratory I work with right now. I mean, I have one project that's going on right now, and the third one that's one of the tokamaks. Tokamaks is one of the fusion reactors that we're building. That's their Princeton Plasma Physics Laboratory too. So that was just, I mean, a brief that people were asking if you could show your lab. I did ask my prof. He said this is all you can show. So yeah.
All right. I think, yeah, that kind of makes sense. It's just to understand how life is out there. Now, I think we can move towards the business end of the seminar, right? First question from my side. The need for masters. What was your primary motivation when you thought about masters, and when was it at the first point of view? Can you quickly take us through your timeline that you followed ever since you started thinking about masters?
Sure. Basically, I mean, it all started. I wanted to do it since around second year, third year, because I knew that the way the trend was going on. My father is a mechanical engineer too, so I keep hearing updates about how the market is going on, how the industry is doing. So you get to see that I mean, just doing a bachelor's is just, I mean, some of a dead one. I mean, a kind of a dead end. It won't last you more than 2-3 years. So that was one of the key things that pushed me to not slack off and go for the masters. And secondly, I started preparing for my master's since the start of third year. So I mean I was pretty much determined that I need to go inside this area. I need to go inside this field. So the research started from there. And then I mean, it was a slow process because in the third year I wasn't really serious, but then that was just there in the back of my mind. I mean, there was research going on between should I go for Europe, should I go for USA, because yeah, so I mean that's how the trend was going on. And finally, I mean, like by the time I reached fourth year, I was like, I got to take a call. And after that, I decided that I took GRE in around July, and then I went for my TOEFL at around August to September. And yeah, I was done with my applications by around November, December. So that gave me a lot of a lot of time to wait for the applications, and it was just not in a hurry. So that was one good thing. I'll explain my whole thing in detail as we go ahead in slides. But yeah, this is just a brief intro of how it all went off.
That's fantastic. Actually, I think a lot of people here can relate to you. In fact, I think one of the audience said that statement right now, that I can so relate to your situation. I am in that place. So how to go forward? Let's just hope this scenario would be a starting point for them, right? So, like you said, one important criteria that matters when it comes to applying for masters is your GRE score, which is you've got a 316 in GRE. Now, when you got this score, were you kind of concerned or were you not sure about it? And what kind of universities did you target after you got the GRE score?
Yes, of course. I mean, 316 is like it's not even par. I mean, according to me, it's not even par because I mean, if you look at the universities that are there available for nuclear engineering, I'm not saying this for CS or mechanical or for the other ones. For the other ones, you can get a really good score. I mean, really good university. But on the outside, like I said, the first saving process is your grad score and your GRE score. So I was pretty much skeptical because I'll tell you the universities that rank in my top 10. They're MIT, they're MIT, they're Michigan Ann Arbor, Texas A&M, Austin, there's UC Berkeley, there's NCSU. Those are all the top schools that are coming. Okay, so and then UW. So it was pretty much I was really skeptical about how should I go about it. So but then just for the sake of it, and my university is ranked above UIUC, Penn State. I mean it's ranked above good universities. So I was skeptical over the whole issue, and because we did not have back data for it, so I was like, okay, I mean it's all my profile, and let's see how it goes. So I mean I was pretty depressed that I got a reject from UIUC and I got an accept from UT, University of Tennessee. I was pretty confused. I'm like, do the ranks even matter? So yeah, so and even Oregon State is ranked above UIUC. So a lot of things played my mind at that time, but it was more of a gamble for me. It's not for the others, the others who are watching CS, mechanical students or industrial students. It's not a gamble for them. It's like they have data that assures them that maybe this is how the trend goes. But for me, it was really different. So yeah.
Also coming from niche department that has its own challenges, not a lot of written articles, information available in the net, right? It kind of becomes difficult to make that decision, especially if you come from a niche course, right? Just to get an audience understanding here, I just want to have a heads up. Guys in the audience, can you let me know what field are you guys targeting? Because I have a student here from nuclear engineering who can talk about the mechanical department, talk about CSE a little bit, and of course own department. So I've been wow. I've got about 19 responses. Everything says computer science. Kind of expected that, I guess. All right, so computer science, mechanical, computer science. I have some, all right, automobile, robotics, civil engineering, chemical. All right. So most of the traditional engineering fields, we have a lot of students coming from. I think that's kind of a good place to be in. Now, moving forward, next part I want to ask you is that, see, I can see a lot of third years and first years, even first years are in this webinar right now, Anurag. And as a student who has gone for masters, you know how important research experience comes into existence, right? At any point of time, going for a master's involves you to do that research experience. So from that point of view, how would you recommend a third year student or a working professional or first year for the matter of fact to approach and get a publication? What should be allowed?
Sure. I'll tell you what should be a driving force. You're thinking of masters, you're doing it for PhD. I mean, you're thinking all these lines. The first thing you should wonder is the students, your competitors are US students. Okay. I mean, do not think of global competitors. You're thinking about US students who are doing undergrads out here who are going to shift to masters after this. Okay. So those people, they start their research. I mean, they after freshman is first year. So after that, every year they continuously do research in a field that's given, or they vary fields, they do in different fields. So do you realize that you are concentrating more on academics rather than research, whereas they are doing research? So who do you think will the professor prefer? A person who has academic knowledge or a person who has on-field knowledge, on research? I mean, someone who's done research, extensive research for 3 years of his undergrad, someone who has research papers. So that should be a driving force. Why should I do it? When that question comes, it's not only for admits, it's not only to show that you have research papers. It's like your competitors are doing it. Do you at least have it? That is the bare minimum that you could have. You could also say that no, academically, I mean, our undergrads are giving much more better knowledge. I can say that in mechanical engineering, when I was doing I had one thermodynamics subject every semester. In this mechanical engineering that's there here in the universities here, it's there once a year. So you're doing it. You're doing 3 times, 4 times what they're doing. But the question is where you are lacking. So the research experience is one of the things you're lacking. So that should be a driving force. And about how to go about it, we can go to the next slide maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah. So okay. How do you go about it? First things first. You've got to inculcate your habit for reading technical papers. You have to, because I mean, most kids sitting out here. I'm not judging you guys, but most people I know they study for exams. They study from local authors. I doubt people are into the habit of even studying the foreign authors, but you've got to inculcate the habit of reading research papers. It gives you a sense of how a particular paper is written, how when a person is doing research, when a person comes to a conclusion, how does he go about it, where does he start, where does he end. So I'm not asked you to read the whole research paper. Start with the abstract. If you like the content, if you feel the content makes sense to you, then go ahead. So and if at all and I would advise that once you read so many research papers, right, you feel that yes, okay, fine, this is one of the topics that I found it really interesting, I found it really intriguing, and I'd like to read about more about it. So you can start from there. So so start with the topic that interests you the most, and does that topic have validity in the industry? Like for a computer science student, it wouldn't make sense if you're doing something in Internet of Things. It's something that's almost, I think it's past off. Like people are doing so much in artificial intelligence and machine learning, deep learning. So you've got to think on those lines. And third thing, this is I'm saying out of experience. I'm a mechanical engineer who has no background of computer science or nuclear or electrical engineering or electronics engineering. But all of my nuclear is into electronics and computer science. It's into coding. So it's taking some time to transition into it. So that if before you face that void, you should know, do you have enough background to contribute to it? If you do not, then you've got to work on it. It's not that you should not. If you do not, then you've got to work on it. So right now I'm reading a lot of things, but it's taking a lot of time. But these are the things you can do in your undergrad, because in your undergrad you'll have time. After you coming here, it's a really hectic schedule. So these are the things you should think about. And this is your basics. This builds your base. Your fundamentals are really good. Believe me, dude. You are gonna do you're gonna do well in your masters. And okay, fine. So like I said, your competition is doing it, so you've got to work on it. And I know undergrads whom I'm working with, they have 3 research papers. I'm like, dude, I just have 1 research paper. But so that's how good they are. So and that's about it. I'd like to say that I think that makes sense, I hope.
Yes, I think, like you said, it's very important on a competitive edge to have a research paper. Not only that, as a personal learning, masters is about going for that extra edge. And research experience does bring in that space. Now, just to ask a little bit now, I have a question. Sapan Patel from the audience has a question for me, which is, as in for you, which is better for building a good profile for an MS? Is it a company internship, a professional internship, or a research internship? Which one do you think is good for my profile?
Sure. It depends totally on what field you're applying. If, for example, for me, if I had done an internship, a research internship from BARC, that's BARC, I wouldn't have gotten a visa. So you've got to think about those things. But if at all your research internship does not involve something that plays with your visa, that plays with your security reasons, so it's totally cool. I know kids who've done their research in DRDO and they haven't gotten anywhere. So that's one thing that's tricky that you've got to look at. Company internships are always good. They're always good because they tell the college, they tell the department that you have hands-on experience in working this field, and how you relate to it and how you write about it in a SOP matters too. So I'd always say yes for a company internship. That always it increases the weight of your CV. In your research internship, just make sure that you do not do it from a very questionable place. It's not a questionable place. It's just that it's something that might hamper or that might play with your visa. So so you've got to keep that in mind. That's it.
All right, wow, a lot of important talking points in that answer. Now, before we move forward to that, I have a good question from Krishna Prabhu. Krishna Prabhu wants to know what was your minor and final year project, and how does it impact your admissions later?
Okay. So, since I said, I started off on nuclear engineering I started off for my master's from 3rd year. So in my 3rd year, 2nd semester, I did a review paper, a local review paper on nuclear fusion. There's a new reactor, Wellstein 7X, that was just built. It's a accelerator that's built in Germany. So my minor project was in that. So I had done a complete research about that and had done a review paper. So my final year project was in cryogenics. That's related to nuclear fusion. I mean, you cannot do nuclear fusion without cryogenics. So it was a, it's a design analysis and fabrication of a liquid nitrogen transfer line. It was a project with DIFR, Tata Institute of Fundamental Research. It's like a sister research project. I mean, sister research center like Park DRC. So all of these was, I mean, it was more into the research fields, and cryogenics is basically it's directly related to nuclear fusion. So that made a huge case for me, and plus the name of DIFR, that matters a lot. I mean, that mattered a lot. So do you want technicalities about the project, or that's okay?
I think that will work. That will work. This is the basic understanding. The fact that how it impacts admission process was the question that is answered very well. Now, one more question from Vishal Gandhi. He said, is it better to opt for thesis or non-thesis courses?
I'd recommend thesis because why it gives you a chance that you might get a GRE, an RA or a TA. So not in my field. In nuclear you have to do a PhD for a funding, but if you're all taking CS, industrial, mechanical, so it's a lot of work. I agree, it's a lot of work, but it's like it eats up into 2 of your courses. So I mean, it gives you a lot of time to write up, to think about, and when you're working on a particular field, right? And I mean, the first year you sit and decide what field you want to work on, okay? And then you shift into the thesis field. So I definitely recommend a thesis field because I've been dying to do a thesis field. Why the first reason is it gives you more chances to get a GRE, and secondly, it takes off the burden of 2 courses. So I mean, it takes off the burden of 2 courses. 2 courses, like that's like a lot of homeworks, a lot of assignments, a lot of tests, a lot of things, and it gives you more time to read up, to if you're enthusiastic about such things. I am. So to read up more things, to read up more research papers, to look into more research labs. You get, I mean, if you're doing a thesis too, you get to visit a lot of industries, because I mean, if you're working on a particular thing, so they facilitate that you go and visit a particular place, that you do industrial visits, that you get to know other things. So that exposure is there. If you go for non-thesis, it's more it's another kind of an easy thing, because in that way you can finish off your masters. I mean, without much hassle, because all this reading up and all, it takes interest, it takes effort. So those things are there. But non-thesis, thesis or non-thesis, if you're going for the industry, it doesn't matter. If you're going for a research field only, then it matters. If you're thinking of PhD, then it matters. So those things, if you keep those in mind, I'm sure most of you won't even think of okay, fine, I'll just think about masters right now, won't think about PhD right now. But I'd say think 5 years down the line. Like all the interviewers ask, where do you see yourself 5 years from now? So always think about those things. And yeah, so.
All right, I think that gives a lot of clarity with respect to how to plan it. Now, moving forward, I can see the next important questions coming, which includes your documentation. You also mentioned multiple times. Papers like your statement of purpose, the letter of recommendation, all these play a very important role when it comes to getting an admit, especially when you're going for masters in the US, right? Mm-hmm. Now, can you take us through this important process? How did you go about these important documentation? What did you do?
Okay, so statement of purpose is just a very formal name. It basically says how you're able to sell yourself. So statement of purpose basically requires you to tell you what you've done in your life and how much of it makes sense to what you're applying to, or do you even deserve this opportunity. So that's what the statement of purpose is. So how do you go about a statement of purpose is, I mean, I don't know if I mentioned this earlier. I'll just draw back a bit, go to the university selection. I'm sure most of y'all are enrolled into something, or even if you're not enrolled, this is something you should do. You first pick up a topic, okay? You first suppose say you're going to industrial or you're going to mechanical, okay? You pick up a topic, okay? Go to US News. This is considering you're judging a GRE score. You have a GRE score, like let us say 320. So you're targeting the universities from 20 to 50. the top list. Okay, so that's where that's where your moderate and your high ranked universities are there. So what I will advise you is to visit every university site, go to their department site, check what their professors are doing. Okay, read up what their professors are doing. If you find something interesting their professors are doing, if you find something interesting, or if you think, okay, fine, this is something I would like to learn about, this is something I would like to work on it, or this is something I have worked on and I would like to build on. So look for those things. So this is your homework that you have to do on your own. Once you do this homework on your own, do go for a documentation, write down all of this. I make your own this thing, because your counselors are going to find your counselors are going to find you certain universities. So let that be. You have to do your own homework. Once you do your own homework, it helps in your SOP, because if you know which university, where and why you're applying to, which professor you want to applying under. So what you're doing is, okay, this professor is working on this particular field, I want to work on this particular field, and I have worked on this particular field. So you stress more on it, you give it a paragraph or two. So when the prof, or when you mention, okay, fine, I want to work under this professor, and I have done this, I've done X, Y, Z, and I'd like to contribute in so and so way. So that strikes a chord with the professor. That makes a lot of difference. So your SOP should be something that you take it on a personal level. You do not just write it. I mean, it's not like okay, fine, you have an SOP format, you just change the name of the university and change the name of the professor and you give it. No, I am saying make your SOP more on a personal level. Write it for, if you're targeting a particular university, target professors, do not target universities. Okay, so your SOP should be built like that. And the otherwise, I mean, like there's no set format for an SOP. I would always recommend you to go with the flow, maintain vocabulary. All that is English, so I'm not going to tell about all that. But I'm going to talk about the technical aspects, that you have to hit that chord. You have to do your own research. Do not depend on someone else to do your research. You have to do your own research. Once you do your own research, you know where you have to write, what you have to write. So I mean that helps a lot. Letter of recommendations, it's more like your professor telling you how good you are. So or your boss. I mean, your boss telling you how good you are. So your professor basically, I mean, first, I mean, it's easy to say that, okay, fine, he studied these courses under me, and these are the XYZ other things that he learned in this course, and these are the things that are relevant to what he's going to study in future. And there could be a paragraph where he says that he's really good at ABC things, and things like that. So that's how you can build an LOR. LOR is never a problem. Usually, I mean, usually professors do it on their own, but then if they're not, so this is how you can build. Transcripts depends from university to university. So Pune University, it's a huge university, so it takes a lot of time. It takes like 3 months for the transcripts to come through. But then there's this what do you say, way you can get through it. All the universities in the US accept this, that if at all you take a photocopy of your what do you say, mark sheets and get it attested by the university, so that is also termed as an official transcript. So a lot of universities have this attestation concept, which they give it in like a week or two. So that's something that applies to really huge universities like Mumbai University, Pune University, really big universities. If you're going for small university, they usually give it in 2-3 weeks, so that's no big deal. So if at all you're going for small universities, I would say go for the transcripts. You can wait it out. You can go for them in around September, October. But if at all you're from a really huge university and you want the actual transcripts, like you want printed transcripts, so I'd recommend you to start in June, because I applied in July, I got it in October, and my fourth semester, my fourth year first semester ended in November. So it was basically useless. So then that's when I found out about the attestation thing. So if at all your university is big, you can look at this thing that helps out a lot.
All right. Wow. That's actually very well crafted, very clearly given analysis of your SOP, LOR transcripts. And I think you answered a lot of important questions which came up while you were talking. So just a couple of questions, I think, that was made very clear. If you were asked, just rank it in order of priority for selection, which is your GPA, GRE score, SOP, LOR, and resume. I feel like I'm in coffee with Karan right now. So, how would you rate this top 5?
Okay, it's more like they don't come in the same lines. I mean, GRE and your grad score is more like, it's a seeding process. That's it. I mean, it doesn't play much of a role. I mean, the department might ask for your GPA, but I mean, it's a really important thing because, I mean, that's your gate pass. So, do you get inside the grad school? I mean, after do you go through the grad school into the department or not? Your GRE and your GPA decides. So, if at all you're off the cutoff mark also, I think it's pretty good. Your SOP and your research or your profile matters a huge amount. Why, I'll tell you. Your SOP can be something that can actually trigger you to get a scholarship, or get you a TA or an RA. But it is not only something that can get you an admit. It can get you these things too. So that's why I said go for a personal level SOP. I mean, where the professor will be like, okay, fine, I want this guy. This guy is something that I can really gel with, and I want this guy. So that's how it should be. So on a mass basis, I'd say SOP. I mean, SOP makes a lot of difference, but I mean, you have to get inside. You have to get the gate pass for it. So GRE and your grad score matters too.
All right. Thank you for that, Anurag. Guys, I think there are more questions coming in right now. We'll try to take up each of these questions in the Q&A session. Now, the next part of this introduction is visa interview. Now, visa interview is something especially going for nuclear engineering to USA, given the circumstances, it cannot be an easy one. Now, how did you prepare for the visa interview, and how was the entire process like?
Oh, it was scary. Nuclear engineering, I was because I was pretty skeptical that I might get the blue slip or the red slip or pink slip or something like that. There's one 221B, 221G, something like that. So that basically says that they're going to do a background check on you, and that's how it works. So that was something that really scared me. But GRE helped me out a lot with the visa interview. I mean, a lot of practice. How it is that, I mean, I'm not going to, I really do not remember the specifics of how I went over the the visa interview. That is information you can get it online. But I just tell you 2-3 things that you have to always keep in mind for a visa interview. One, never lie on your visa interview. They know you. They really, really know you. So never lie on your visa interview. 2, enunciate. Your English should be clear. Those people, believe me, I mean, we talk really, really fast. Americans do not. So if there's a notion in you that Americans talk really fast, no, they do not. American talks really, really slow. So they understand slow. So enunciate. Do not forget that. Okay. And that's about it. I mean, maintain eye contact. Maintain eye contact, because I've seen this in Americans that when you look into their eye, their eyes go down. Believe me, and they kind of feel submissive. So those are the things that can act in favor of you. And like I said, I'm not going to go into specifics because I really do not remember, so it's not my jurisdiction. I don't want to give wrong information. But as a personality, you have to maintain these things. So yeah, and just pray that you didn't get a psycho on that day.
All right. Now, I think the entire process of starting from university shortlisting and going forward with the documentation, SOP, and looking at the visa interview, it's a very, very, very long process and has a lot of steps involved in it. Now, the question from this is Deepak from the audience is, what role did GREH play in helping you in this journey?
It's more like they made a clear picture in my head, and it's like this is how your whole journey is going to be. I mean, my journey started around July when I took my GRE, and then go ahead for TOEFL, and then the university selections. University selections took a lot of time, and then we went for applying, and then we went for the SOPs. The SOPs took like 1.5 months. It took a huge amount of time, and then the LORs, and then the university applications. Then there's a brief period where you're let loose. I mean, like nothing happens, but then your admits and your rejects start coming in. So that's the period around January to April. And after that, you're thinking about the visa interviews. You're thinking about when to apply. You're thinking of your loans. those that takes up at around like that takes you to around June. So if you see, I started in July, I ended in June, so it's a 1 year process. It's grueling. It's kind of like, if you're in the fourth year, or if you're a working professional, it's tough. Believe me, it's tough. So once you've taken drops, I mean, for them it's easy, but for the others, it's a grueling process. So GRE basically it made a clear picture of how to go about it, and they aided in a lot of areas in the university selections, the SOPs, the visa interviews. So they aided a lot in all of these areas. So that was pretty helpful, I guess.
All right, all right. Thank you for that, Anurag. Now, with that, I think a most important round comes up, which is the Q&A session. I think a lot of attendees have so many questions for you. Now, we'll jump across that. Can you tell us on-campus jobs? Usually, that's the reputation of that is kind of very taxing and all that. So, what do you think? Should ideally target on-campus job, or should we stick to the traditional concept like RA, DA, and GL, etc.?
Yeah, I just had a slide for that. Could you go back to that?
Yes.
Okay, yeah. So these are the things that usually people do not tell you, and you should know these things. Okay. So before you apply, I mean, like after you're done with your visa, or suppose say you're done with the visa around June, okay, and you've booked your tickets. So all these places, they open up their the dining outlets, the libraries, the international house, all of these places, they open up their websites or their openings in June itself. So students who are there actually right now, they fill in the best jobs, they fill in the high paying jobs, the $12 jobs, the $13 jobs. So this is, I'm talking about normal, like university towns. If you're totally going to New York, if you're totally going to California, these places you'll be paid much higher, $24, $28. So you have to remember that these are the places you should attack: dining outlets, library websites, international house, on-campus housing. On-campus housing, there are lots of offices that are there that you can apply to. Graduate school office, and then office and utility services. Office and utility services, basically, they provide you a lot of services. They provide disability services. They provide printing posters. There are so many offices that are around. So you should only usually say your university name and the utility services on the campus. So they bring out a website. So you can, and inside that you can go and see in the about section, you'll see that okay, job postings or job availability. So those are things. So before going, you can apply to these things, and so that you do not lose out on an opportunity. Once you go there, you get sucked into a lot of things, and after that, when you go ahead and apply, right, I mean, there's a rare chance you might get, even if you get, right, it might be a low paying job. So if you're tracking, if you're wanting something really good, so keep these things in mind. It'll be good to go.
All right, wonderful. Thank you for that, Anurag. Now, moving forward, I think a lot more questions have come in. I'm going to take up some general questions which have a lot of people. First thing is impact of work experience in chances of admit. Can you take that question, Anurag?
Sure. It matters. Because if you say you have work experience, or if you say you've worked in industry, so they basically realize that what goes on in the industry, and you can relate to their courses, you can relate to their subjects more better. So and rather than students, they'd actually prefer such people, because it makes a lot of sense to them too, because it's easier for them to work, it's easier for them to coordinate with the students. So that's a really high added advantage. I'm not saying people who are in fourth year or third year, it's like they should take up jobs. No, I mean, you've got time on your own, and you've got time for you to build your profile. So I'm not saying you have a disadvantage in that case. It's just that people who are working, I mean, they have that industry experience, which takes a higher claim. But there's one thing that once you leave your fourth year, you go to a job, right? Like 60 to 70% mass does not come back. I mean, it takes a huge amount of resilience to actually get sucked into the educational fields. So I personally, I wouldn't recommend for you to go for a work ex unless your department desires. But I wouldn't recommend. But yeah, that's definitely an added advantage.
All right, wonderful. Thank you for that. So the next question revolves around the concept of backlogs and low GPA. Now, as a student, when you're in your second year, first year, you don't really understand the importance of academic background. You kind of let loose because you get the college environment and it's all new for you, right? Now, as a student with third year, assuming that I've got a backlog or a couple of them, or if I have a low GPA, what are the ways by which I can look at a good university and do the best possible level? What do you think I can do for that? That's the question.
Okay. Low GPA is something that's always, I mean, it's a deterrent. It acts against you, but it's not everything that defines you. Okay. So, I mean, okay, fine. If at all you have a GPA that's lesser than 6, that's lesser than 7, it's definitely that you have to shift your universities a bit down. You're forced to do that. So that's something that you cannot help with. But if you this is I'm talking about fourth year students. But if I'm talking about third year students, I'm like see I'll tell you something really straight. My aggregate till second year second semester was around 63. I ended up with an aggregate of 73%. So I had an 8% increase every semester. So it's nothing that you cannot do. You can always keep improving. And plus, my professor himself said why I picked you was I saw your GPA. I mean there was that increasing graph that I saw that there was an 8% increase every semester, even though you failed. So that matters too. So if at all, I mean, even if you haven't done really well, and if you can pick yourself up and do much better in the coming semesters, that is highly rewarded as well. That's highly appreciated by the professors. So in those cases, yes, you can definitely apply to a better university. But if you're in fourth year, you're culminating your BE, so that actually acts as a huge deterrent for you in for higher ranked universities. It's no harm applying to them, but it's just that I mean there's a 90% chance you'll get rejected. That's it. So if you're ready to take that, cool. It's up to you.
All right, excellent. I think it kind of makes sense. The third year student, you still have about 4 semesters in hand, which is quite a good number. And like you said, the trends of noticing increase in GPA is something that professors look into. That's quite a very reaffirming point, to be honest. So thank you for that. Now, I think with that, only a couple of questions left. One is, how about internship? What role will internship be? Assuming I don't have any work experience, would an internship help? That's one question. And the extracurricular activities, how do these two play a role in the application process?
Okay. Internships, they definitely help. I mean, like again, it's the professors do not differentiate much between internships and jobs, because I mean for India it's like internships are more like I mean they're mundane jobs. I mean I'm not judging you, but I mean that's how usually it is. But your internships are taken really seriously. Your internships and jobs are taken equally seriously. The only thing is that internships are a short-term thing that okay, they judge you. Okay, fine. If you're good, I'll give you a job. So that's how internships are seen in the US. So if at all you're able to write well about your internship in the SOP, if you're able to explain it well, then it's a pretty good deal. And what is the other one?
The extracurricular activities.
Extracurricular. Okay, fine. So extracurricular is something that I wouldn't really comment about it, but then if at all, like my university is really known for its football. It's known for its football. So if you're really good at football, then okay, the football here and the football there is different. If you're good at the sport that's being played in the university and you've done well, so those things add. I mean, like they're like, okay, fine, I see a potential. I see a potential here, and he's something that I can invite in my university. Otherwise, as a department, I mean, for a very technical field, they wouldn't see that. I mean, they wouldn't see much. But I mean, though they would expect that you mentioned your extracurriculars. Okay, fine. It's an overall development. But it does not help in your admit. It's just that okay, fine, yeah, this guy's good. This guy's done other things too. It's not only the technical field. So it's always good to have it around, but it doesn't add as a a really huge game changer in your what do you say, GPA. That's it. Sorry, in your
Wonderful.
admit. Sorry.
Yeah. All right. Thank you so much for that, Anurag. I think with that, we kind of have answered all the questions that have come, at least most of them, which are very popular. I think we have answered that. So, first of all, for your time, I really thank you so much for your time. I'm really sure it's been quite a difficult one. And it's kind of early as well in Tennessee at this point of time. So, thank you for your time, Anurag.